What? Recently, life has been stressful, okay? I'm 24, I'm at peak life confusion time. So I've been looking for new ways to avoid my problems. The usual strategies just aren't working like they used to. I was like, I could pick up a new hobby, but then I remembered I get upset when I'm not immediately good at something right away, so that was out. I could try exercising more, but I'm already pretty peak, so don't know if that would do anything for me. I could work towards my existing goals, but why would I do that? So it was at this point I realized I was looking at this all wrong. I need to go back into the background so I can get a better look at the foreground. At the four weddings? That totally worked. That's right. Today I want to talk to you about a show I watched in my youth. 4 Weddings. This show was on so much. It was kind of back in that time when you were watching cable TV. They would just show like 20 episodes in one day back to back. So my parents' DVR would be chocked full with like 75 episodes of 4 Weddings at one time because I could just not keep up with watching every episode. And so 4 Weddings, this can be my new fixation. And trust me, there is nothing better than this show to make you feel like you have your life together. The US version of 4 Weddings premiered on TLC, which stands for the Learning Channel, by the way, in December of 2009. It is so of its time. Nothing screams 2010 reality TV like 4 Weddings, just wait. The premise of 4 Weddings is exactly how it sounds. We get to see the wedding of 4 different contestants, specifically focusing on the brides. The catch is these 4 brides are attending each other's weddings and scoring them. Whoever gets the highest score wins a free honeymoon. Surely this is a totally sound premise with no chance of sabotage, right? The categories for scoring are overall experience, venue, dress, and the food. For all categories except overall experience, they will rank them from 1 to 3, and then for overall experience, they'll give each wedding a score out of 10. And I thought today we could watch an episode. I'm not wearing this veil for nothing. Maybe there's some engaged people watching this. Maybe you can learn something from these people. The episode we're gonna watch is called 4 Weddings and a Pizza Delivery, so surely nothing can go wrong. I like pizza. Okay, let's meet the contestants. Come on down. The first bride's name is Gina. She's 26, from Florida, and her budget is $10,000. Each of these weddings have like a main thing. All right, so something that's like key to their wedding. It can be like the theme or a certain type of food or an event that goes on during the wedding, but each one has one big thing at least. So Gina's main thing is that her wedding will have this like high caliber cocktail reception. Gina's okay with tasteful themes, but she hates Cinderella themes. The next bride is Julie, and do you want to guess what kind of theme she wants? Goth! No, I'm just playing. She wants fairy tale. This just makes me think about the poor coordinators for this show. You have to have 4 weddings in semi-nearby locations happening in kind of similar times with juxtaposing themes to make it interesting. I know they did not get paid enough, whatever they were getting paid. That has to be so hard. And then on top of that, your singular client, brides, are some of the most stressed out people in existence. So forget about a fairy tale wedding. The fact this show exists is a fairy tale. All right, so Julie, her stat sheet, we can treat this like the NFL. Julie, 38, $10,000 budget. Julie, 38? $10,000 budget?
I'm Tony Gonzalez, University of California.
Julie's main thing, as we're scientifically calling it, is her theme, which is royalty. Julie's man is 25 years old, which is, old enough to make big boy decisions, but their age gap is 13 years, which is more than half his age. Again, he's grown, but worth pointing out perhaps. They met at church too, by the way, in case you were wondering where they met, because where they met was at church if you were wondering, because that's where they met. Julie actually has a second main thing, and that is that her reception will only serve candy reception. My initial thought is I hope she's banning kids at her wedding, because if not, there's going to be many a feral child running around with a crash out imminent. The candy she's eating looks pretty rank too, I'm sorry. I'm feeling like Gina how much I'm judging Julie's wedding. Let's go to the next bride. Julie is a woman of God, alright? So what does she not want at her wedding? Any of that sexual dancing. So what does the next bride want at her wedding? Pole dancing. I'm totally kidding. She just wants normal dancing. It's a pretty weak juxtaposition, actually. The third bride is Angel, 28, and she wants lots of dancing. Angel's main thing, kind of weird, is that she wants her dog to be the ring bearer. That's her main thing, is her dog's in her wedding. That's the main thing. Yep. That is the main thing. Angel's budget is $22,000, which is more than double Gina and Julie's. Interestingly though, she's doing a lot of DIY for her wedding, and none of the other brides really mention that. The very vague connection between Angel's wedding and the next bride's wedding is that Angel's wedding will be on a very tight schedule, okay? Angel is very type A. So what does that mean about the next bride? She's very type C. Okay, type B. Obviously, guys, okay, I'm working, you see what I'm working with here. I'm trying my best. The next bride is Katie, 26, wearer of insane hair. Katie's got a budget of $6,000, which is almost a fourth of Angel's budget and almost half of Gina and Julie's. Katie's main thing is that she doesn't give a fuck. Now, her real main thing is that her theme is rock star and there will be games at her wedding. Katie's wedding is grad party chic. Katie's partner AJ says that if they don't win the honeymoon, they're probably not going to go on one due to costs. Purely off of vibes, I gotta say I like Katie the most. She's not putting too much money into her wedding, and her partner are both very real, so I like them so far, but who knows, we'll see. And we will start seeing right now because Katie is up first. The three other brides show up for Katie's wedding. Right off the bat, Julie is the only one who got the theme, I think. She's the only one who's kind of wearing clothes that make sense. Julie shows up like she's going to an AC/DC concert, and honestly, hell yeah. You gotta remember, this is early 2010s, the cheerier the better. Then it's time for Katie to walk down the aisle and the girls see her dress for the first time. Gina immediately says that she loves Katie's dress, which I found very endearing because, spoiler alert, the show can be very catty. This show really does perpetuate the idea that girls can't be girls, and that we're always in competition with each other. So I think any moment where the girls show genuine happiness for the other girls, I think that's really nice. Gina also talks about how Katie surprises them because her wedding is pretty untraditional, but her dress is pretty traditional, but there's still that peak of pink underneath her dress that is very Katie. And I really like this because it shows that Gina has this genuine desire to get to know Katie and understand Katie, which again, I just really enjoyed. Anywho, actually, you know what? I'm not done because they also wrote their own vows, which is something that I really love when people do. What I don't love is that my veil won't stay in my goddamn head. As the youngest cousin in my family, I have been to a lot of weddings, and I've only actually seen written vows one time, and I cried so hard. So after the ceremony, they go inside. Basically, the setup of Katie's wedding is they had an outdoor ceremony, but it's in like the yard of a rented house, and then after the ceremony, they go inside the house for the reception. I'm not sure this exactly worked. It's kind of giving house party, but I guess it's what it literally is. The camera shot often has some form of wall in it because the house is very like angular. It has lots of rooms in it. There's not like necessarily one big open space. So there's just a lot of angles. The girlies finally find time to talk to Katie, and they're very kind and very nice about her dress and her kind of rock star style, which, as we know, I really like. Then the three brides decide it's time to start getting involved in some of these games. They grab a football because they're warm-blooded Americans and they start tossing the ball around. This, funnily enough, is one of the earliest times they start complaining. Gina gets a little annoyed at how hard Julie is throwing the ball, and Julie gets a little annoyed that Gina's being such a baby about catching the ball. Julie's diary rooms are really, really funny because she ends every sentence with a really intense smile, kind of like she's doing the interview section of a beauty pageant. They play bags with the bride, which I love you, Katie, but that is so insane for a wedding. Gina gets mad again because Julie is just really good at bags. Julie may or may not have targeted a bag at Gina's feet, who's to say? However, Gina most definitely quarterbacks a beanbag right at Julie and knocks over the fire of a tiki torch, which is even funnier because Julie's the one who ends up picking up the flame and she hands it to the groom, who looks so tired. He looks like a dad fed up with his kids at a family reunion. He's like a few minutes from pulling the car around. Enough of the games, it's time for dinner. Katie's dinner is buffet style, like burgers and kebabs. So far, it genuinely has just been like a really fancy graduation party. The girls do not like the food. Okay, big red X there. It's bland, it's overcooked. The night kind of winds down from there. They play a few more games. No one really dances, which is kind of weird. And yeah, it kind of just ends there. So how the show is structured is we get to see the overall scores the brides give at the end of each wedding, but we have to wait a little bit to hear about how they rank it, which makes sense. You kind of have to go to all the weddings before you can rank them. I was trying to decide, and I think I decided that, you know, we're in this together. I think I'll share the overall scores here too. For overall experience, Gina gives Katie's wedding a 7. Julie also gives Katie's wedding a 7, and she says, and I quote, "It was just a lot classier than I thought it would be. I really expected to throw my clothes away when it was over." Which of course she ends with a huge smile. So, you know, it's not offensive if you smile. And then lastly, Angel actually also gives her a 7. From what I remembered of the show, this was just way higher than I expected. Obviously, they don't want to give them too high of scores because they want to win. So 7s off the bat, I thought was actually pretty impressive. So the next wedding is Angel's. The other 3 brides walk into the venue and they're happy with it. They think it's really pretty. However, I am a bit of a hater in this situation. All these weddings are in Florida, so Angel's wedding is at a hotel in Florida, and at her altar, you can see hotel guests lounging by the pool. It's very distracting and it's not very angelic. It's not very angel-like. Thanks. Sorry guys, I'm sorry. You remember how Angel's main thing was that her dog was gonna be in the wedding? When the wedding party start walking down the aisle, one of the bridesmaids is just carrying the dog. She's just carrying the dog. The dog's not even walking down the aisle, and for some reason, that really pissed me off. The dog's gonna be in the wedding, the dog should have to do its part. It should have to walk down the damn aisle. And this is a medium-sized dog, alright? This is not like a little Yorkie. It just felt a little strange. Julie says that Angel is maybe the prettiest bride she's ever seen, which genuinely gave me chills. Like that was such a that's kind of giving me chills right now. That's just such a genuinely kind thing to say. But then, guys, but then the funniest thing happens. Angel walks down the aisle, everyone's standing in there, they all look so beautiful, and the officiant starts officiating the wedding, and he never tells the guests to sit down. So while he's talking, like saying all like, oh, blah, 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 love is amazing, everyone is standing. So no one can see anything because all the guests are standing in the seats. No one sat down. The girls are like towards the back. All they can see is the back of the heads of a bunch of guys standing in front of them. It's so awkward. I just can't even believe it. I'm just like imagining being that official. If you ever notice being like, oh, you know, I should have asked them to sit down 5 minutes ago. Maybe I should ask them now, but is it awkward if I ask now? Maybe I should just not do it. Hilarious. 10 out of 10, no notes. After the ceremony is over, the girls are jonesing for some food. But our queen Julie, she is not happy, alright? Julie does not drink alcohol. Julie said, if this isn't about me, it's about nothing, it's about no one. Gina clocks that Julie is not happy, but Gina's also like, it's not my job to babysit her at this wedding, so Gina doesn't really do anything. You know, they chit chat with the guests for a bit and then they sit down for dinner. It's very typical wedding decoration, I think. It's very tasteful, it's very classy. The DJ introduces the bride and groom.
If everyone would please rise from their seats to Mr. and Mrs. Salada!
Huh?
Mrs. Salada!
That dude really did blow that mic to pieces. I know that shit peaked like a widow. Angel served salmon and chicken and the brides really liked it. Except Katie, who didn't really like it. She thought it was average, but Katie also didn't really like her dress, by the way. However, on that front, I kind of get it. They're not exactly style sisters. Angel has a photo booth at her wedding, which I really like. Weddings are so expensive. I think the memories are really, really important to show where all your money went. And also the love, to also show the love. The love is important, obviously, but Katie doesn't really like that either. As the night winds down, the brides say their favorite parts about the wedding. Gina says she loved the photo booth. Julie said the other brides really liked the open bar. But Julie also just doesn't really want to partake in the wedding activities at all. Like, she doesn't really want to dance either when the other brides ask her to, which is kind of just like, girl, what do you expect at a wedding? Like, those are kind of the two main activities, other than the whole marriage part, is drinking and dancing. So I don't really know what else you expect to do at a wedding. I do understand that when you're not feeling involved or you're feeling left out, not wanting to partake, but I don't know. I kind of think like when you're doing something like this, you gotta give it your best effort. But I do want to say Julie eventually does like join everyone and she does have a really good time dancing and she partakes. So, you know, there was a hump, but we overcame it. I know this isn't really the point of the video, but I want them all to have fun, you know what I mean? So I'm happy that they did have fun. Anyways, that's pretty much Angel's wedding. Overall scores, okay, so Julie first. Julie gives Angel's wedding an 8. This genuinely shocked me how highly she rated Angel's wedding, considering she was like not a huge fan of the dancing or of the drinking, which was like a huge part of Angel's wedding. But I don't know, I guess Julie had an okay time in the end because an 8 is insanely high. Katie gives a 4. I genuinely gasped when I watched this for the first time. I could not even believe the curveball tank that Katie dropped. A 4? Madness, man. That is insane. Then Gina gives Angel a 6, which I think is like the most reasonable score out of all of them. So those are the overall scores. Next, we're moving on to Gina's wedding. Gina's wedding starts by Gina telling us that she wishes she could just skip the ceremony and go right to the party, you know, skip all the love and the vows and all that, which, you know, it's a good start. That's good. Apparently Gina is allergic to flowers. Girls are like not very confident about it. They're like, oh yeah, we think Gina is allergic to flowers, but they don't know for sure, which kind of just shows that nobody put in the effort to know Gina as well as Gina did for them. So Gina's maybe allergic to flowers, and because of that, Gina doesn't have a bouquet. There's no flowers at her wedding. Instead, they use feathers. Feathers are interesting. They are interesting. Gina comes out in her gown. She's walking down the aisle. She looks beautiful. All the girls are eyeing, and Julie says
she added extensions, and it was very becoming because it cut through her neck this way, and it made her look smaller than I've ever seen her, actually.
I think Julie thinks that as long as you smile, it's like you're not actually saying anything mean. It's not a neg if you have great teeth. They did get to sit this time, woo! However, the angle of the chairs and the angles of how the groomsmen and the bridesmaids are standing didn't really complement each other, and so most of the guests couldn't actually see the bride and groom during the ceremony. They needed like them overflow room TV so they could actually see what was going on. Gina's dog was also in the wedding, so a big day for pets, and he walked like a real man. He wasn't carried, alright, so big up from me. For some reason, I also don't know why, but none of the girls looked happy for Gina when she kissed her husband at the end of the ceremony, so I'm not really sure what was going on there. Drama in the villa, I'm not sure. The ceremony finishes and they go to the venue for the reception, and problems arise like immediately. The setup is a little weird, so there's no table for the wedding party how it typically is at weddings. Instead, there's only a couple's table, and it's really just two round tops like pushed together with a tablecloth on top. But the other issue on top of that is the venue is quite small. It's like a club, and there's only room for like tables everywhere. There's no like dance floor, and it's very, very crowded. The girls are like, okay, let's just go grab a drink, which of course Julie is like, I'll go have a water. It's like, babes, it's a wedding. I just don't understand Julie. I just don't know what she was expecting at a wedding. Have a mocktail, babes. Like, have a little cranberry juice. It's gonna be okay. This is wedding activity. There's no assigned seating. Like I said, it's kind of just like tables, or like not even tables, there's just like seating. So the girls sit down near the kitchen, and so since they're sitting down by the kitchen, every time new hors d'oeuvres come out, they're the first ones to get them. All right, there's a lady coming out, and Julie starts going, hey, food lady, and she just keeps asking the food lady for food. She goes, thank you, food lady. Hey, food lady, bring us more food, food lady. And it's like really uncomfortable. I barely worked in the restaurant industry, but I just know, dude, if I'm working catering and I know I'm spending the whole night feeding people who are drinking, and someone keeps, as soon as I walk by, going, food lady, babes, I would lose my job that night. She could just very easily ask her name, and luckily Katie eventually does, because they just kept saying food lady. I just feel like Julie should have been the one to ask, but at least Katie does eventually do that. So the big issue kind of beating around, I guess, is that Gina, her wedding doesn't have a dining room. And so when they go to the buffet and get their food, instead of like going to sit at a table, they bring their food back to their little seating by the kitchen, and they just hold their plates in their laps. There's just no tables, like, at all. So they're kind of just stuck cupping it and eating it like this. And I guess the plates are pretty small too. It's rough for sure. It's not ideal for a wedding, but I will say the food looks redonk. It looks really, really good. And that's pretty much Gina's wedding. Like I said, it was kind of like a club setting. So eventually they do start dancing. I have spared you from a very long sequence of Julie desperately on the hunt for a red velvet cupcake, so I just want you to know in your heart that I've allowed you to miss that, alright? Overall ratings, Angela gives Gina's wedding a 7. Angela, if anything, is kind. Julie gives Gina's wedding a 5. Katie gives Gina's wedding a 6. Then we move on to Julie's wedding. Dear viewer, there's a reason Julie's wedding is last. The girls arrive at Julie's wedding. It's a big venue. When the wedding begins and Julie starts walking down the aisle, I can't help but notice that a lot of the pews seemed empty. They do keep the shot pretty tight, but I do feel like you can tell there's a lot of emptiness in the area. While her guest number might have been small, her dress was not. Her wedding party is also small, which I personally am a fan of. However, the way they have them spaced is spacious. So the whole thing just ends up feeling a little cavernous. And you know, what I gotta say about my girl Julie is she is a woman of many layers, alright? She's a woman of many contradictions. She's been bagging on all these weddings, but the beginning of her wedding is also a little weird. She's got on this big princess dress, but she's also wearing like a slightly young goth choker, like a black choker. She's very religious, but she goes to town on kissing her husband. I always say we contain multitudes. So they get to the reception, they can plan a little, they compliment a little, yada yada, you know the drill. And you know, Miss Julie, she sits in her throne, and they say, you know what? Game time. And they're looking for contestants, and I'm immediately taken back to the classroom when you weren't really paying attention, but your teacher asked a question, and so you're staring really hard at your desk, being like, please don't pick me, please don't pick me. And the teacher's scanning, and you can feel her eyes on you, and you're like, please don't, and then she chooses you. That was the same vibe. So basically what I'm saying is Katie gets chosen for the game. And the game is basically like, it's kind of like a bridal shower game or like a baby shower game. I do distinctly remember playing this in an assembly in high school one time. It's 2 different teams, and then they're asked questions, and they have to decide if either the bride or the groom is the answer, or if both of them are the answer. And through this game, we do find out Miss Julie has had her license suspended multiple times, so you know, the more you know. But it does like beg the question then, why was Katie chosen for this game? Because Katie doesn't know Julie at all. So why would you choose Katie? So here is the thing about Julie's wedding, okay? It is one of her big things, if you remember. And one of her big things was Julie wants an all Katie reception, all right? No food. So Julie does not serve her guests dinner. Guys, this is genuinely one of the worst things I've ever heard as an idea for a wedding. Like I said, I have been to quite a few weddings. If I had a wedding punch card, I would have like 3 free coffees by now. Especially as a child, if I was told I was not getting dinner when I was hungry, oof, a tantrum would have been had. Especially if I was just on my 5th lollipop, my 5th fucking dessert from the table, a tantrum would have been had, babe. The girls are so hungry, so they do put a bunch of desserts on their plates. But what happens when you have an empty stomach and you're only eating pure sugar? You're gonna get a stomach ache. So the girls take matters into their own hands and they order a pizza. The titular roll.
It is the titular roll!
And I think they're actually quite nice about it. They don't want to hurt Julie's feelings, so they eat the pizza on the curb outside. But it does get more awkward. Since it's a Cinderella theme or a fairy tale theme, Julie has these little glass slippers that are filled with glitter. And so basically the idea is when Julie and her husband leave for the night, the guests will throw the glitter on her. Kind of like other weddings where they'll throw rice or they'll blow bubbles. So they line up and they wait for the couple. And Julie and her husband come out and she kind of just stares at them and she says, and everybody's kind of just like, ew. And nobody really like moves. And so Julie and her husband just kind of start coming anyway. So people are like, oh, okay. And they start throwing the glitter on Julie and her husband. And Julie's like trying to dodge it, but she gets like covered in glitter. And it's just so awkward because she's just like, oh, I'm never going to get this glitter out of my hair. Like she's clearly so upset about it. And everyone's kind of like, okay, well, goodbye. It's a hard watch. Honestly, it's pretty awkward. All right, so overall ratings. Angela, the kind sweetheart she is, gives her a 5, even though they did not get dinner, guys. They did not get dinner. And Angela gives her a 5. Angel
Nice throw!
gives her a 5. Gina gives her a 4. And Katie, guys, Katie gives her a 2. I could not even. I was so gagged, bro. 2 is insane. Like I said, I'm a veteran of this show. And I don't think I've ever seen a 2. A 2 is madness. But honestly, feels justified. All right, guys, that's all 4 weddings.
It is the titular roll!
What happens now is the girls gather together. We hear a little bit about what their favorite things were, what their least favorite things were. We're given one from each, and a limo is gonna pull up, and one of their husbands is gonna come out of the limo, and whoever's husband comes out, that's who wins the honeymoon. All right, so the fun little tidbits we learn is that Julie's favorite dress was Gina, even though she made that crazy comment.
It made her look smaller than I've ever seen her, actually.
Gina, to her own shock, her favorite dress was actually Julie's. Angel says her least favorite food was Katie, which no, I know you're lying, babe. I know you're lying. We all just saw Julie's wedding. We know Julie's was worse. And Katie says her favorite venue was Angel's, which again, yeah, fucking right, bro. If I could hear children screaming in the background, if I could see the children screaming in the background of your wedding, you're not getting the best venue, okay? Okay. All right, guys, make your guesses. Who do you think won? Who do you think's husband is coming out of that limo? Are you ready? The winner was Katie. Go Katie, go Katie, go Katie. Guys, if you're wondering who I thought should win, I thought Katie should win. If you're wondering who I thought should win, I was thinking that Katie should win, if you are wondering. Because I also thought that. I like this outcome a lot, especially since Katie and her husband said if they didn't win, they probably weren't going to go on a honeymoon because they couldn't afford it. And the honeymoon they win is a week in Anguilla, so that sounds really nice. Her venue got a perfect score, by the way, which I think is a little crazy considering the house didn't really seem to have a huge open space. Like I said, you could see kind of like corners of walls in every single shot, but I think having the big yard and also the other venues not being great really helped her out. Gina ends up getting second place, and this is gonna hurt when I tell you. Gina and Katie actually got the exact same score. They technically tied for first, but Katie, as a tiebreaker, got a better overall score, like a higher overall score, so they ended up giving the win to her. Oh, I'm sick. I'm so sick. If I was Gina, that would hurt so bad. That would hurt my feelings so bad. And it gets worse, guys. It gets worse, okay? In third place is Angel, and Angel gets third place by 1 point, guys. By 1 point, Angel's in third. Katie and Gina get 82 points, and Angel gets 81. And this is all because Julie's wedding was so bad that Julie got fourth by 30 points. So between third place and fourth place was 30 points. massive gap. All the girls are really happy for Katie and her partner too when he comes out of the limo, which I thought was really nice. Or like at least they acted happy for them, which is kind of all that matters really. Anyway, so that's 4 weddings. What did you think? It was actually more lighthearted than I remembered. I was expecting more drama and like outward distaste towards the weddings at the weddings. Even when they didn't get food at the wedding and they were hungry, they still took the other brides' feelings into account and ate the food outside. So I thought, overall, I thought everyone was quite nice. Well, almost everyone. Especially when you remember that this was a TLC show in the 2010s. So I think there's a lot more intense, a lot worse content out there. Could not be me though. Stay safe out there, y'all. You're stronger than me. I also tried to see if all these couples were still together, but I think because of the nature of the show, there being so many episodes and there being so many contestants per episode, I think it's like basically impossible to find without doing a lot of really intense research. So I'm not sure, but what I did find while looking was a Reddit thread of a previous winner kind of talking about her experience. She did say she would do it again, and what her and her husband won was a 5-day trip to Tuscany, and so what was included in it was 1 night of dinner, 1 spa day, 1 wine and olive oil tasting, and a $1,000 gift card to spend there. The thing that I thought was interesting is she said airfare was not covered, but in answer to another question within this thread, she did say that they were given $5,000 for airfare and tax purposes, but this was like not enough to cover it, so they were gonna have to pay some out of pocket. Also, just to put it in perspective, this Reddit thread is 10 years old, so just keep that in mind when you're thinking about like inflation rates and stuff and how much this money actually means. But yeah, that's 4 weddings. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments if you've watched 4 weddings, if you watched any other TLC shows around this time, because I'd be interested in doing this about other shows, but this was just one that I was very into. I remember I was also a little bit into Cupcake Wars and extreme couponing. I really thought extreme couponing was going to be a bigger part of my life. So if you watched anything, hit my line if you're wanting me to cover anything else. Any thoughts on the episodes? If you think, please, what I actually really want to know, do you think Katie should have won? That's what I want to know. But thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Do not forget to subscribe if you want to know when my next video is ready. Also, all my socials are in the description if you want to check me out on anything there. Got my letterbox in there. Got my Goodreads in there. I'll see you in my next one. Peace, love, happiness. Goodbye. Ciao, Bella. I do. Y'all, my veil keeps falling off. Ow, it's kind of pinching my hair actually. My veil keeps falling off, so if it falls, don't tell me. I'm the bride. You're not supposed to tell me bad things on my wedding day.